So like I said, give us a snapshot of how many groups are meeting at the church and which ones are
Uh-huh.
you running?
Yeah.
Okay. We have gone from probably 2 leaders to probably 9, 10. Wouldn't you say, Robert?
Just
Maybe a little more.
I have a list in front of me of 15 ladies and 14 men.
Wow.
A couple of them have transitioned out or moved, but we're over 20 leaders right now.
That's more than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the women's groups, we have 2 separate groups going for Betrayal and Beyond. We have 2 groups that are doing Sexual Integrity 101. And I just finished up with my co-leader, Robert's wife, Megan. We just completed the Unraveled group. And again, it's fun that we can transition one group into the next group. And it seems to be working out pretty darn good. So we're just waiting for this. In a couple of months, we're going to start some new groups coming up. And so we're pretty excited about that.
Robert, are you experiencing anything specifically when it comes to challenges with running men groups? Like, what does Faith Chapel see as like some of those hurdles that you're seeing men need to overcome in order to step into group, maybe for the first time?
It's a great question. In terms of a church of our size, I would say like the general number for attendees in a weekend service is anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 people. And so because guidance and care is one of 17 different departments at Faith Chapel, our senior pastor prefers to just really focus on the Bible and teaching the Bible because the moment you start shouting out, accolades or invitations, you almost need to do that for everybody. So there's a lot of back house or in office processes to promote groups. So I wish, I would love it if we could get more promotion from the front of the room. So that's a hurdle, but there's a lot of invitation, excuse me, that's happening personally. And then, in terms of, one of the second hurdles that I'm navigating right now is just trying to decide how to help leaders. I'd really like for leaders to walk with guys through 101, conquer pillars, instead of just help moving them from leader to another leader. If leaders commit to that process, then they end up spending a couple years with the guys. By the time they've done 101, conquer twice, and then pillars, and then compassionate warrior is the next process that we're headed into that you guys have completed. And so just finding leaders that are willing to do the long-term process. There's several leaders who are willing to lead through a group or 2 groups, and do it on a loop, but doing it, in a more elongated process is something I'm believing would be beneficial, and we're headed that direction. And so in terms of groups that are active right now, we also run Fearless groups. Annie leads those, Fearless for Women with James Reeves. He's been on here and done podcasts. And so she has a women's group running in the women's prison, and helping ladies process the trauma of abuse and survivor care. There's a Fearless group here at the church, 2 Betrayal and Beyonds, Sexual Integrity 101, and then Unraveled is in the wings, if you will, getting ready. And then I have there's 6 different men's groups running right now. I'll be launching 101 April 7th, and then there's Pillars and 4 more Conquers going that will all transition into
Yeah.
in two pillars.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's so
a lot.
encouraging to hear because I think churches do feel like maybe we'll never get there. And what you shared too about announcements from the stage, it's so common that people feel like, well, if we only got more like public recognition, then the groups could grow. But I think whether you're at a small church and maybe have a leadership team that just doesn't have a vision for it, or you're at a large church and a staff that does have a vision for it, there's just not time.
Yeah.
And in either scenario, there's not a whole lot being said from the stage. And obviously, it would be great if that was happening, but it's good to know that even when it doesn't, there are ways that through back channels, through the power of invitation, through the power of
Yes.
people telling
Mhm.
one other person, this is what God has done in my life, and I think you should join too. I mean, frankly, that is still the most common way when I hear from men who are in recovery that they started a group. It's because they'll say, well, my brother or my friend or my, college roommate or whoever, someone said, I've experienced or heard about change happening through a 7 Pillars group or a Pure Desire gathering, and I think you should check it out. So if you're a leader in a church feeling like, man, if only we got those on-stage announcements, well, that'd be great, and don't give up on that. But know that there's so much that you can do to create a community of healing and recovery,
Totally.
even if you're not getting shout-outs on a Sunday morning.
Well, I mean, you think about it too, like relationships you have internally with staff. Let's say you guys have close relationships with your marriage ministry and you have mentors who are taking people through the process of improving their marriage or communication or whatever it may be. And this topic comes up. If those mentors or those, disciple makers are like, hey, we actually know that we run Pure Desire groups here. Why don't you go through those kind of relationships are I would even say those are more effective than maybe even something from the stage, because sometimes that can just fall on deaf ears or positioned in a weird way, or I'm not going to admit in this moment that that's an issue because everyone's watching, There are a lot of things that you can do even in a church that size. And it sounds like you guys have that relationship, but it's not that people don't know that you run these groups, but maybe you're not getting that public affirmation from the stage.
it doesn't. It's mostly personal invites, and like you said, Trevor, what has been cool, what I've loved experiencing personally is that after being on staff for a year and running groups and launching groups, last year in 2023 we had three of our other pastors wanting to lead groups.
That's
And
cool.
so they were in connection to the marriage ministry. And right now, 2 other pastors are. And so there's a high school group running, a junior high group running.
Wow.
I just had another leader from in high school tell me he's going to take his guys through a group. And so, I'm just trying to get everybody into the training.
Totally.
We're getting ready to. I talked to Emmanuel Garraway last week, and I just really believe it's time for us to jump into that Pure Desire membership process that you guys have. So there's a little bit more care for the leaders, and they have increased capacity to connect with Pure Desire group leader training and 101 and just asking questions. So we're thrilled at the support, like you guys making yourself accessible, available. And then what I've discovered is that just remaining in the room, remaining part of the process. Somebody's going to come up and talk to you, and I have a place to invite them. And they may have to wait a few weeks. I talked to a guy yesterday and was able to tell him, look, you can jump in April 7th with me, or you can jump in at the end of April with this group, and this is what I recommend. And so just being able to point people in the direction and have something that's pretty much right around the corner, that's super exciting to be a part of.
Well, yeah, and I would just say, from our vantage point, churches that do that are running these staggered groups kind of throughout the year, where it's not just we only start in January, that creates a lot of success and opportunity because the availability is there.